Good morning. What a weekend it's been. The Delhi government, as well as some others, got a tongue lashing from the Supreme Court on the sad state of affairs when it comes to dealing with COVID patients, the dead bodies, the lack of tests. So the Supreme Court has been really concerned, and that has set up a flurry of meetings between the Prime Minister and various people, the Home Minister and the Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. So hopefully a lot of that will play out, and we'll see how that plays out over the weekend. And the Delhi government itself seems to have changed its mind on testing. Till now, the Delhi government was not a great votary of testing. Suddenly, you find the health minister Satinder Jain blaming the governments in neighboring Uttar Pradesh and Haryana, and basically saying that the reason why the two states have such low levels of infection as compared to Delhi is because they're not testing it enough. So essentially, he's been saying what the accusation that people have made about the Delhi government, that the less you test, the less infections show up. So Mr. Jain has had a welcome change of heart, so we welcome that. Mr. Jain then he then appealed, and this is something that we in FE have been saying for a very long time. Mr. Satinder Jain then appealed to the central government, to the ICMR, which is controlled by the central government, that please scrap the original ICMR guidelines, because these guidelines essentially the ones that restricted testing to essentially only those who are symptomatic. So let's see whether there's some change on that, because that's a very, very big change that requires to be made. After a meeting of the Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and Home Minister Amit Shah, you remember the Prime Minister also had some meetings over the weekend. So after this meeting of the Home Minister and the Delhi Chief Minister, 500 railway coaches, I think each one has about 18 or so ICU beds. 500 of those railway coaches are to be made available in the Anand Vihar railway station. So that's a fairly big amount of beds that will be available to the Delhi government. The Delhi government has also said that private hospitals have to reserve 50% of their beds for COVID. The Home Minister has promised that Delhi's testing levels are to be doubled in 2 days, trebled after that. He has even said that after that, every polling booth in a containment area would have testing facilities. He has said that contact tracing will be stepped up. So let's see how that goes. That's clearly what is needed. Satinder Jain had all but given up on contact tracing a few days ago. He said that the numbers were so large that it was not going to be possible to do too much of contact tracing. Just the direct people, the direct contacts, he said, would be traced. So, in fact, later today we are going to have an all-party meeting on Delhi. All of this is something which should have happened 2.5 months ago. Then we wouldn't be in the panic that we are in today. But it's happened now, so fingers crossed, and hope for all the best. Over the weekend, in fact, there's more good news. Over the weekend, we were told that the Delhi government had identified a piece of land owned by the Radha Swami Satsang Byas Satsang. It has scaffolding. It can take about 10,000 people. There can be a 10,000 bed facility. So we are told by the Delhi government that a facility will come up there within the next few weeks. You remember the Radha Swami Satsang Byas came in for some very bad publicity over the last several months. Basically, due to the Ranbaxy brothers scam and the siphoning off of funds there. So hopefully those beds will be ready soon, and Delhi will find it slightly easier to deal with the COVID crisis here. Moving away from COVID, the Parota Roti debate got a fresh lease of life after one of the authorities on advanced rulings. Basically ruled that the parota is not a roti and therefore will have to pay GST at the rate of 18%, sorry. The roti, as you know, basically pays has a 5% GST, after which government sources, went into overdrive. They were at pains to explain that, this is something that happens the world over. Basically, processed foods, have a higher rate of duty. So, India is no different. And basically, processed foods are what the rich consume. So, therefore, the duties on that are higher. So, that's the old debate which is being carried on, which is being played out once again. And, I think essentially, so we are back to the point that the late Arun Jaitley used to make, that a Hawaii Chappal and a Mercedes-Benz cannot be taxed at the same rate. And, sadly, if you poll most people in the country, including the educated, they will share quite the same sentiment. So clearly, India is far from ready to move away from its socialist moorings. So essentially what it means is that you're going to have a complicated unworkable GST for a long time because the political class, the bureaucracy, and more important, the people of India don't seem to be ready to move away from it. Another example of sclerotic government policy is a story in Financial Express on wired broadband services in the country. Now, the story basically says that the government has scrapped the license fee on wired broadband because essentially what they want to do is they want to promote access to wired broadband. It's much faster than wireless broadband, and basically, if you're going to do work from home, that is something which is to be required, which is required. So we welcome it. It's a very good move. But here's the problem: wired broadband is really small. It's a niche thing. About 19 to 20 million people in the country just use it. That's all. So the government actually needs to be doing this for wireless broadband, wireless internet, wireless phone, but they're doing it just for wired broadband. So it just boggles the mind as to what goes on in the government's mind. The reason we'll be told is that if they did it for wireless phones and wireless internet, there'll be a huge revenue loss. Whereas, if you do the same thing for wired broadband, the revenue loss will be much less. But here's the problem. Because the government policy was so bad, it affected the telecom sector. And over the last few years, government revenues have actually been declining because there have been no auctions. So it is very clear, once again, as we said, this is a theme that we keep repeating. Everybody knows what needs to be done, but it just never gets done. Another story, a story that we've been following for a long time, we've been reporting on for a very long time. There are a lot more sweeteners that the real estate firms are offering. One of the companies we talked to, for example, the builder is saying anybody loses a job, the next 3 EMIs will be paid for by the builder itself. So your house loan will not go into default. Another builder is saying that just pay 10% upfront, pay 90% when you get delivery. So basically, there's a lot of sweeteners out there that are happening. Will this make the market pick up? A lot. Depends really on how people feel. If people feel confident that the salary cuts are over, the job losses are over, then they may go buy a house. If people feel that these are here to stay, I don't think any of these changes will really help. And as we've discussed, 2-3 days ago, we reported that in any case, prices of real estate, of flats in various cities like Bombay, for example, cannot come down much lower until the local government reduces the circle rates or the ready reckoner rates. And this is a policy which, like so many others, this is a policy which should have come a long time ago. The real estate, like the economy, has been in trouble for many years. We've got about 5 lakh units of unsold inventory. So, I very much doubt if this is going to help, but essentially it's a mindset change. Let's see how that works out. They have been, not unexpectedly, there have been several cuts to the FY21 revenue forecast. So we have that. We have some nice graphics which you should look at. But the interesting thing in this story is that the analysts at Kotak Institutional Equities are even cutting their estimates for FY22. So keep in mind, everybody has written off FY21 anyway. This is the first sign of somebody saying that FY22 is also going to be a problem area. With work from home becoming a reality, employers likely to have to provide more housing for people, for their workers, skilling on the phone, telemedicine, online teaching. We know that life has changed. It's never going to be the same for any of us in corporate India or anywhere else here. So our lead article today talks about some of these changes. More importantly, it talks about the critical changes that need to be made in government policy to make sure that these changes can actually get reflected and help boost productivity in the years to come. It also discusses how government spending needs to change. That's very, very critical here. What the article does is uses Gautam Bhardwaj's toolkit to basically show to you how small levels of saving by even the poor can go a long way in giving them old age security. That's something the government needs to look at very seriously. It needs to change its expenditure pattern. Recall that Gautam in Financial Express had made the point that had the government actually moved on the NPS in all earnestness some years ago, that even the migrant crisis may have been put off because migrants would have had a pool of savings in which they could dip into. The NPS, as we know, is something that had started, the government had started contributing to it, but for some reason it just never took off after the NDA came to power. We all know about banks, about power banks, and we have this story about a startup which is doing a grain bank. So essentially, this startup, by the way, has just got another round of VC funding, and essentially it's like a storage facility of the past where the farmers come and they put their grain, but it offers them credit against the grain which has been put. It seems to be digitizing the storage and the details, so you can actually track the grain as it moves from the grain bank to processors and to the trucks and the final users. So I mean it's basically a big improvement in the food chain, and let's see how that pans out. Another startup that we report about is using artificial intelligence, other analytics, to help firms like Hindustan Lever or any FMCG firm, and it can apply to other firms as well over time. So basically, what this startup is doing is to use AI to help these firms figure out that how their product is moving across the Kirana network, what are the levels of inventory, what needs to be stocked up, and as we've been saying, this is going to be the shape of the future. There's going to be a lot more technology in almost everything that we use. Tired of noise cancellation headphones? I mean, we've all used them, and we found that you get a little bit of a earache, whether it's a noise cancellation earphone or a headphone, because basically they create some kind of a vacuum in the ear to keep the noise out, and that's what causes the pain. So there's a new headphone, there's a new technology that Google is working on. Essentially, it creates a wave which is equal to the mirror image of the one that you want to cancel. And when the two images meet, when the two sound waves meet, then it cancels the noise out. So that is going to be the shape of noise cancellation headphones and earphones. So there's going to be good listening for us. And I guess the next step, something that the nation wants to know, is whether television studios across the country are going to be able to use this to make sure that their debates are not this loud cacophony of noises conflicting with each other, and it'll just be one person speaking with the rest of the noise cancelled out. So have a great week ahead and happy working. Bye bye.